Hello and welcome to my channel. This is an introductory study on the religionized words lost and perish. I will have a link to my study outline in the description, so I hope that you will find that helpful. So here's where we go. First of all, let me say my purpose in these word studies is to align students' thinking to the Bible. Specifically, to move Bible students away from the thinking that the Bible is primarily about the evangelism or the salvation of unsaved people. A very important subject, however, that is not the primary subject of the Bible. The primary subject of the Bible, the primary concern of the Bible is the salvation, the deliverance, the preservation of the spiritual value and ultimate outcome of believers' lives. Now, religionized words play a prominent role in people's thinking that the Bible is primarily about salvation. Many, for example, this is point 4, many, for example, are conditioned to think the word lost is always a reference to an unsaved person when, in fact, this is normally not the case. The Bible was not written in a special religious language, so this is somewhat of some review of some videos I've given before. Point 1, Bible writers used words according to what were their common usage and range of meaning in the time they wrote. A Bible writer's use of a word did not change its usual meaning or meanings. Point 3, a Bible word's meaning and usage is fixed to what was a Bible writer's intended meaning in the time and the context in which he used the word. So we speak of authorial intent. What did the author, the writer of a Bible book, intend by his use of a word? What did he expect? What did he intend his readers to understand? Point C, most words have a semantic range. That is, they do not have the exact same meaning or application every time they are used. Our English word, for example, our English word lost is an example. We speak of sailors lost at sea. We use the term of one who is lost geographically in terms of location. And then we can say, I lost my car keys. What we mean is, I misplaced my car keys. So, same word in each case, but a different meaning and application. Meaning and application of Bible words, and indeed words that we use in everyday life, meaning and application are determined by context. The Bible words lost and perish are religionized words. Now, I gave a definition of religionized words in the introductory study outline, but basically a Bible word becomes religionized when, by prolonged, imprecise usage of the word, in the minds of people, it comes to have a meaning that the Bible writer did not intend, or the meaning and application of a word come to be limited to a single use every time it occurs. So we dealt with this some in the words save and salvation. People have been conditioned to, when they read these words in the Bible, to automatically think the application is to eternal salvation, when in fact it usually is not. Point 2, these words lost and perish, and we'll include some in our study of the word destroy. These have different nuances of meaning and applications. depending on the context in which they occur. Yet many are conditioned by religious background almost automatically to think these terms, talking about lost and perished, to think these terms apply to eternal spiritual condemnation, or what is popularly known as going to hell, to think they apply to this every time they occur. Now, point 4, this results in what is called eisegesis. Eisegesis simply is the practice of reading something into the Bible that is not present. So a good Bible interpreter practices exegesis. So what that means is simply taking out of a Bible text what is present in the text. So eisegesis is reading something into the text that is not present. So this results in eisegesis, and it causes Bible readers and students to neglect context. So that is a common cause of erroneous Bible interpretation and irrelevant application. Now, the New Testament Greek word, this is pronounced apolemi. It is the verb apolemi. So in this study, we will focus our attention on the occurrence of the words lost, perish, and destroy as they occur in the New Testament. Point A, in the New Testament, the English words lost or lose, perish, and destroy all translate the same Greek verb apolemi. Now, in the King James Bible translation, and don't forget that we use translations. Our English Bibles are translations. And I like what I read somebody said recently, is that no translation is really neutral. Bible translators are influenced by their background, their worldview, and their theology, or the theology of their associational group or their denomination. So we use translations. Now, in the King James Bible translation, this verb apolemi occurs as destroy 23 times. It is translated as lost 28 times and as perish 33 times. The analytical lexicon of the Greek New Testament, valuable study tool, gives these meanings of the word. We'll just kind of go over this quickly. Number 1, in the active voice, means to ruin, to destroy. This could be of persons, to destroy, kill, bring to ruin. B, with an impersonal object, to destroy, to bring to nothing. C, of a reward, to lose a reward, to be deprived of a reward, which is opposite of the verb tereo, which means to maintain and to keep. 2, in the middle voice, the verb means to be ruined, to be destroyed. A, of persons, to die, so physical death, perish, lose one's life. Of things that can be lost or be ruined. So in the third section of this particular study, we will spend some time looking at the parabolic illustrations of Luke chapter 15, in which Jesus gave the illustration of a lost sheep, of a lost coin, and a lost son, the prodigal son. And so these things that were lost, they were lost in terms of being, I like to say, displaced out of their rightful place. So I won't get too deeply into that. We'll cover that in a subsequent lesson. And then C of transitory things, the verb means to pass away, cease to exist, to perish. Now it's important for us to understand that apolemi was a common everyday word when the New Testament was written. Its use predated the Bible by centuries. So let's talk about the Septuagint, which is the Koine Greek translation of the Hebrew scriptures. The Old Testament scriptures were written in biblical Hebrew. The Septuagint, point 2, translates the Hebrew, this is the verb aver. Aver translates aver with the Greek verb apolemi. So I have an example for you here from 1 Samuel chapter 9 and verse 3. And the asses, the donkeys of Kish, Saul's father, were lost. And Kish said to Saul his son, take now one of the servants with thee, and arise, go seek the asses. So Kish's donkeys were lost. That had nothing to do with their spiritual condition. They were out of their rightful place and they could not be found. So Saul's son, I want you to go and find the donkeys. So the Septuagint, now this is our subpoint B, the Septuagint was produced about 250 years before the earliest history recorded in the Gospel. So what I'm trying to show is that apolemi was, it preceded the Bible, it predated, I should have said it predated the New Testament by centuries. And so it was a word in common everyday use. Apolemi only had a religious application when used in a religious context. So, apolemi, and this is quoting Robert Wilken from his book, The 10 Most Misunderstood Words in the Bible. And if you don't have that book, I recommend that you get that. You can find reasonably priced copies. Well, I mean, you can go to the website of Grace Evangelical Society. They sell the book there, or you can find good used copies, maybe for a little less money, on book sales, online book sales, Alibris or Abe Books. But Robert Wilken writes, apolemi in the New Testament most often refers to physical death or to temporal destruction or loss. And we'll see this as in our next section, we are going to look at specific New Testament uses of these words, lost or lose, destroy or perish. So let me go to the next slide here, and I just want you to see that I'm giving some bibliographical information for some sources that I quoted. So that's going to be the end of this lesson. I appreciate you joining me and hope you find these lessons helpful. And so, as I said in section 2, so we'll have a section 2 and a section 3. In section 2, we'll begin to look at specific uses of apolemi in the New Testament. So thank you again for joining me. The Lord bless you and take care.